The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves. Niccolò Machiavelli. In a world where everyone is screaming for attention, silence becomes a weapon. True power is never loud, it doesn't chase validation, applause, or approval. It radiates from within, like a storm brewing under the surface. The kind of power that shakes a room without saying a single word. This is what Machiavelli understood: those who command respect do not need to demand it. They simply are. Their presence carries weight. And their silence is never empty, it's calculated. When you walk into a room and remain quiet, people start filling in the blanks. They wonder, what's on his mind? Why isn't she speaking? And that curiosity gives you leverage. You become the person others observe, adjust to, and subconsciously respect, because your silence implies strength, not weakness. The mistake most people make is equating silence with submission. But silence, when chosen deliberately, is dominance. It's restraint. It's control. And in the world of power, control is everything. Machiavelli knew the nature of influence wasn't about force, but precision. A word spoken too soon reveals your position. A reaction given in anger shows your weakness. But when you stay quiet, no one can read your next move. They become uncomfortable, not because of what you say, but because they can't figure you out. And what the human mind cannot predict, it either fears or worships. This is your advantage: while others rush to fill the silence with noise, you hold your ground. Calm. Steady. Unreadable. The more people speak, the more they reveal. The more you listen, the more you control. Silence is not a lack of communication, it's a different language altogether. It signals confidence, mystery, danger. It forces others to project their own expectations, fears, and insecurities onto you. In that way, your silence becomes a mirror. They see themselves, not you. And the image they create is often more powerful than any speech you could give. Leaders like Marcus Aurelius, Napoleon, even modern power players, all knew the value of saying less. Because the less you say, the less you reveal. And in a world obsessed with exposure, mystery is the last true luxury. Your body language, your eye contact, your stillness, all these things speak louder than words. Keep your movements calm, your posture strong, your gaze unbroken. These are not theatrics, they are signals of internal control. The man who can sit still while others panic, who can wait while others react, is the man others start to fear. In a time when oversharing is the norm, withholding becomes power. Everyone posts, speaks, reacts. You observe. You choose your words with intent, or you choose silence. Machiavelli would tell you, never reveal all of yourself. Let them see only what benefits you. The aura you build through silence is not accidental. It's strategic. It's a shield, and a sword. You don't need to shout your worth. You are the worth. Your silence becomes your signature. They want you to talk, so they can categorize you. They want you to react, so they can control you. But when you say nothing, they have nothing to work with. And that terrifies them. So don't explain. Don't overshare. Don't try to be understood. Let your silence disturb them. Let your presence speak for you. Because the moment you learn to speak through your silence, you no longer follow power. You become it. A man who cannot master his emotions is a slave, not only to others, but to himself. Machiavelli never wrote books about emotional intelligence, but he lived it. His writings reveal a cold, hard truth: those who react emotionally are easy to predict, easy to manipulate, and even easier to destroy. In contrast, those who control their emotions, or better yet, conceal them, rise quietly and dominate silently. Your emotions are signals, not commands. Anger, fear, jealousy, all of them arise, but none of them should lead. When you give your emotions the steering wheel, you give away the most important advantage in any game of influence, your unpredictability. Let them yell. Let them panic. Let them swing wildly in emotional chaos. You stay centered. Focused. Calm. Because still water runs deep, and the world fears what it cannot read. Emotional control is not suppression, it's transformation. It's the ability to feel deeply but choose wisely. Machiavelli would argue, when you show anger, your enemies learn your pressure points. When you show fear, they test your limits. When you show need, they smell blood. But when you show nothing, they hesitate. Why? Because emotional neutrality is unsettling. It removes the obvious strategy. It forces others to question, overthink, doubt their own footing. Your calm becomes a psychological weapon. In this silence of expression, you create a void. And in that void, you become the dominant force. Most people spill themselves everywhere. You insult them, they explode. You challenge them, they crumble. One emotional button, and they're dancing like puppets. Now imagine a person who cannot be provoked. Who doesn't flinch under pressure. Who doesn't get dragged into petty drama. That's not just control, that's power. That's royalty in the modern world. You don't have to dominate with aggression. You dominate with your refusal to be moved. In chaos, the calmest person becomes the leader. People subconsciously look to those who appear grounded. Why? Because we're wired to follow stability. And emotional discipline creates that stability. Imagine being in a crisis and watching someone quietly assess the room. Not rushing. Not reacting. Just calculating. That person owns the moment, not because they're the loudest, but because they're in control. You can be that person. You must be. Here's the truth, Machiavellians don't show their cards. They let others play theirs first. They never reveal what they feel, because the moment you do, you give the other player the upper hand. This doesn't mean becoming numb. It means becoming strategic. Channel your emotions into planning, not panic. Turn your anger into focus. Your pain into discipline. Your fear into preparation. Use your emotions, but never let them use you. People might be entertained by emotional outbursts, but they never respect them. Respect is earned by those who hold their ground. Who don't flinch. Who can listen to insult without needing to defend. Who can walk away without saying a word, because they know their silence cuts deeper than 1,000 arguments. Control earns respect. And in the world of power, respect is everything. Emotional strength isn't loud. It's not theatrical. It's invisible, but undeniable. When you own your emotions, you own yourself. And when you own yourself, no one owns you. Let others be loud, chaotic, exposed. You stay composed, unreadable, untouchable. Because in the end, it's not the loudest who lead. It's the calmest who win. Presence is power, owning the room without speaking. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Niccolò Machiavelli. There are people who walk into a room and immediately shift the energy. They haven't said a word, yet all eyes are drawn to them. It's not about beauty. It's not about money. It's not even about status. It's presence, the invisible force of someone who knows exactly who they are, who doesn't need to speak to make themselves felt. And this is one of the most Machiavellian forms of dominance. Because once you master silent influence, you no longer have to prove yourself. You just are. What is presence? Presence is the art of taking up space, without noise, without arrogance, without desperation. It's when your posture speaks louder than your words. When your stillness radiates more power than someone else's shouting. When you enter a space and people feel your energy before they even see you. Presence doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It simply commands. And in a world obsessed with attention, presence is the rarest and most powerful currency. Why the silent are feared. Loud people can be predictable. They reveal too much. They give away their insecurities, their motives, their weaknesses, all through unnecessary words. But silent individuals. They force others to guess. They make others uncomfortable. The mind cannot relax in the presence of someone it cannot read. That tension is power. Machiavelli understood this deeply. The less you reveal, the more others reveal themselves to you. Let them fill the silence. Let them overcompensate. You remain grounded. Mysterious. In control. That's how you dominate silently, by turning the noise of others into an advantage. 3 core elements of presence. Posture. Your body tells the room what your mind believes. Straight spine, lifted chin, open shoulders, it says, I belong here, without needing validation. Eye contact, controlled, calm, intentional. Not aggressive, anchoring. Hold eye contact just long enough to show you're not afraid. Then look away like you're bored, not intimidated. Stillness, the insecure fidget. The confident rest. Stillness is a form of control. It shows that you're comfortable in your skin, and that makes others uncomfortable in theirs. Each of these elements speaks a language older than words, a primal message of strength. Say less, observe more. In any group dynamic, the one who speaks the least often understands the most. Why? Because silence creates space for observation. The Machiavellian strategist watches. He listens. He lets others talk themselves into weakness. He takes mental notes, reads body language, detects lies. And when he finally speaks, everyone listens, because it's rare. Be that person. The one who doesn't need to speak often, because when you do, you've already won the room with your presence. The power of mystery. People are addicted to information. They want to know who you are, what you think, what you feel. And when they can't figure you out, they become obsessed. Mystery creates fascination. Fascination creates attention. And attention is power. When you're unpredictable, unreadable, and unmoved, you hold the psychological high ground. You become the question mark in everyone's mind. And nothing is more powerful than being felt when you're barely seen. Never be the loudest voice, be the deepest one. Loud voices can dominate for a moment. But deep presence leaves a mark that lingers. Instead of shouting over the room, let the room fall quiet when you stand. Instead of rushing to speak, master the pause. People remember how you made them feel, not what you said. And presence, when wielded with discipline, leaves a permanent imprint. The loud try to prove. The quiet already know. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need approval to lead. You don't need permission to command a room. Your presence is your weapon. Sharpen it with silence, polish it with stillness, and wield it with calm certainty. Walk in like you own nothing, but fear nothing. Because in the world of influence, the most dangerous man is the one who doesn't need to speak. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Niccolò Machiavelli. In a world addicted to noise, the one who masters silence holds the greatest power. Most people speak to be heard. The powerful speak to be remembered. Machiavelli understood that control isn't always exercised through action, it's often asserted through restraint. The ability to stay silent when provoked, to withhold when expected to speak, to let others reveal their intentions first, that is the foundation of influence. Strategic silence is not weakness. It's not passivity. It's calculation. People fear silence. Not because it's empty, but because it's full of interpretation, uncertainty, possibility. When you don't immediately explain yourself, people start projecting. They fill in the gaps with their own insecurities, assumptions, and fantasies. And in that moment, you have psychological leverage. Strategic silence unsettles. It breaks predictable patterns. In negotiations, arguments, or even casual conversations, silence becomes a mirror that reflects the other person's mind. Most will rush to fill it, and in doing so, reveal more than they intended. You remain unmoved. Because silence is your battlefield. Speak less, gain more. Here's what Machiavellian thinkers understand. When you speak too much, you give away your power. Every word can be used against you. Every explanation can be twisted. Every opinion is a weapon, in someone else's hands. But when you make your words rare, they gain weight. People listen more intently. They assume your silence means intelligence, mystery, control, and they often assign more value to your few words than to someone else's entire speech. You didn't say much, but somehow, you said everything. Tactical moments to stay silent. When you're angry, your silence communicates more than your rage ever could. Don't react emotionally, observe. Control. Let them feel the cold wall of your discipline. When you're underestimated, stay quiet. Let them misjudge. There's power in being the silent threat they didn't see coming. When you're being pressured, people fear the unknown more than any answer. When you pause instead of giving them what they want, you remain in control. After a statement of power, say something sharp. Then stop. Let your silence underline your message like a dagger left on the table. In strategic settings, deals, politics, rivalry, listen more than you speak. Gather intel. Reveal little. Strike surgically. Psychologists have long studied the discomfort people feel in silence. It triggers anxiety. It creates the perception of dominance. That's why in interrogation rooms, silence is used as a pressure tactic, to get people to confess, explain, overtalk. In social settings, the one who controls the rhythm of conversation holds the power. You don't need to interrupt or dominate. You simply stay quiet long enough, and others will start negotiating with themselves. That's the essence of strategic silence. You make others work harder while you stay calm. Precision over volume. A lion doesn't roar to prove he's a lion. He moves, and the whole jungle responds. Let your words be deliberate. Not rushed. Not emotional. Not scattered. When you do speak, speak slowly. Speak with pauses. Let your tone remain calm and unshaken. Even if you're delivering a threat, a rejection, or a boundary, do it with surgical calm. That's how real intimidation works. No need for yelling. No need for theatrics. Just cold precision. Mastering the pause. In high-stakes communication, the pause is your weapon. Right before you respond, pause. Right after you say something important, pause. Those few seconds create tension. They make people lean in. They wonder what you're thinking. They feel the gravity of your presence. In a world of impulsive replies and nervous talking, the pause is king. Powerful men aren't defined by how much they speak, but by what they withhold. The Machiavellian strategist plays the long game. He doesn't show all his cards. He doesn't speak to be liked. He doesn't explain his moves. He lets silence do the talking, because silence cannot be misquoted, cannot be turned against him, and cannot be outplayed. So become surgical. Calculated. Precise. Let the world chase your meaning while you stay still. Let your enemies talk too much. And remember, you gain more power by staying silent, than by trying to prove it. The art of controlled emotion, how to stay ice cold in any situation. He who conquers himself is the mightiest warrior. Confucius. Power is never just about strategy, it's about emotional control. You can be intelligent, strategic, and ambitious, but if you can be emotionally manipulated, you're still weak. The modern world rewards those who can stay calm when others lose their minds. You don't win by being the loudest voice in the room. You win by being the most emotionally unshakable presence. Why emotional control is a power move. Most people are predictable. Press the right emotional button, and they explode, panic, chase, or retreat. That makes them easy to read, easy to manipulate, easy to beat. The moment your emotions become visible, they can be used against you. That's why the true elite stay icy, not because they don't feel, but because they don't show. Machiavellian power is built on restraint. Your emotions are weapons, and weapons, when uncontrolled, can backfire. Your calmness in chaos terrifies people. It sends a message: you can't reach me. How to build the ice-cold core. It's not about killing your feelings, it's about mastering them. Here's how you start. Detach from outcome. Stop craving specific results. Control what you can, your actions, your mindset, and let the rest go. Power comes when you stop chasing and start attracting. Slow your reaction time. Before you respond, breathe. Buy yourself space between trigger and reaction. Those few seconds are the difference between a tactical move and an emotional mistake. Observe before you engage. Let people show their emotions first. You gather information while they bleed energy. Your silence makes them nervous. Your stillness makes them speak too much. Let others project. When you stay silent and unreadable, others start projecting. They reveal their insecurities, their assumptions, their agenda. You didn't speak, but you still got the upper hand. Moments to stay ice cold. When insulted, your reaction is what they want. Deny them the pleasure. Stay calm, unbothered, dangerous. When tempted, desire is the enemy of discipline. Control your impulses, and you control the outcome. When betrayed, don't beg. Don't explode. Cut clean. Walk away with dignity. Nothing is more terrifying than a person who doesn't flinch. When challenged, stay grounded. Your confidence should be silent. No need to defend, only to decide. Emotional strength versus emotional suppression. This isn't about becoming numb. You're not a machine. You feel, but you choose what to show. Emotional strength means you feel fear but don't act from it. You feel anger but don't let it control you. You feel attraction but don't lose yourself. You feel sadness but keep your direction. The weak need constant validation. They need to be seen, heard, understood. The strong, they validate themselves. That's why they're so rare. Turn emotion into strategy. Anger. Use it to fuel self-discipline. Fear. Let it sharpen your planning. Jealousy. Let it reveal what you truly want. Love. Let it deepen your loyalty, not cloud your judgment. Emotion isn't your enemy. Uncontrolled emotion is. The Machiavellian mindset doesn't deny emotion, it uses it. You become dangerous when you can sit with your emotions, and still make decisions like a general, not a victim. Your calmness is a message. You can't break me. You don't own my mind. I choose how I respond. I don't beg. I observe. I'm always 10 moves ahead. Most people are loud when they're insecure. You're silent because you already know. Your calmness will disturb the emotional. Your detachment will confuse the needy. Your discipline will expose the chaotic. Let it. The world wants you emotional, because emotional people are predictable, controllable, exploitable. But you're learning to hold the line. To breathe before acting. To think before reacting. To stay cold in chaos. That doesn't make you heartless. It makes you powerful. Your emotions don't lead you, they serve you. And when the world tries to pull you into noise, drama, and confusion, remember this. A calm mind is a dangerous weapon. Use it. The more you say, the more common you appear. Silence is where power gathers. Inspired by Machiavelli and Robert Greene. You walk into a room. You say nothing. But people feel you. That's presence. And it's built, not given. It's a silent pressure, a quiet intensity that makes people pause, turn, and think twice. It's not about the loudness of your voice, it's about the weight of your energy. In a world of noise, the one who speaks the least often holds the most power. Why silence is the ultimate power move. Words can be dismissed. But energy, felt energy, can't be ignored. Silence creates tension. Tension creates awareness. Awareness creates influence. When you walk in with stillness, calm, and self-possession, people project onto you. They wonder. Who is this? Why are they not trying to prove anything? What do they know that I don't? That's influence without effort. Power without noise. Components of silent dominance. Stillness of body. Stillness signals control. Fidgeting, rushing, nervous gestures, all reveal insecurity. The powerful move with intention, not urgency. Your stillness commands attention. Slow, purposeful movements. Don't rush. Slow movement shows control. When you move with calm precision, others follow your rhythm. They adjust to your tempo. You lead without speaking. Laser eye contact. You don't need to speak to dominate a space, your gaze does the work. Don't dart around. Don't look away. Hold eye contact with confidence, not aggression. It shows presence and control. Controlled breathing. Breathing deeply and evenly grounds your nervous system. You become unshakable. People sense it. They feel your composure, and it influences how they react to you. Micro-expressions of confidence. The smallest facial cues matter. A calm face. A slight smirk. A raised eyebrow. Master these, and you say everything, without saying anything. The psychology behind silent power. Humans fear the unknown. And a silent person, unreadable, is unknown. That mystery forces others to pay attention. Silence shifts focus from your words to your presence. And when people can't figure you out, they respect you, or they fear you. Often both. The one who speaks the least reveals the least. That makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability is power. How to build magnetic presence. Own your space, whether you're sitting, standing, or walking, act like you belong. Not arrogantly, but with calm certainty. Be selective with words. When you finally speak, people will listen, because they're used to your silence. Make your words carry weight. Stay unaffected, don't react to every stimulus. If someone tries to provoke you, stay still. If others get emotional, stay grounded. Your lack of reaction becomes your dominance. When silence hits hardest. In confrontation, speak less. Watch more. Let them talk themselves into weakness. In meetings, wait. Listen. Then speak one sentence that reframes everything. Power in one line. In seduction, mystery is magnetic. Don't overexpose. Be felt, not explained. In betrayal, walk away in silence. No explanation. No drama. That silence echoes longer than a scream. Real power doesn't argue. Loud people argue because they're insecure. Silent people don't need to convince anyone, they simply act. The ones who are feared most are not the ones who shout, but the ones who could, and don't. Mastering the silent aura. Start small. Enter a room without announcing yourself. Just be. Speak 50% less in your next conversation. Watch the effect. Let others fill silence. You'll see how uncomfortable they get, while you remain calm. Let your stillness speak. Let your presence disrupt. Let your energy command. People listen to noise, but they follow presence. Be the person who doesn't need to speak to dominate. Be the one who walks in silently and shifts the temperature of the room. Not by what you say, but by who you are. In a world addicted to noise, silence is your edge. Control it. Wield it. And you'll own the room, without ever raising your voice. Conclusion: the power of the quiet elite. In a world that screams louder each day, the one who commands silence becomes unforgettable. You don't need to beg, argue, or explain. You don't need to raise your voice to raise your power. The moment you master stillness, you stop chasing, and start attracting. The silent man is dangerous, because no one knows what he's thinking. The silent man is powerful, because his presence demands attention, not requests it. He isn't loud, because he doesn't need to prove himself. His energy speaks louder than any words ever could. Machiavelli understood this: true influence is not imposed, it's felt. And those who master silent influence don't just walk into a room. They shift its gravity. So now the question is no longer, how do I make them listen? The question becomes, what version of me walks in so powerfully, that the room listens before I even speak? Because when you stop explaining yourself, you start becoming unforgettable. Core message: the greatest dominance lies in quiet certainty. You don't speak to control others, you become someone they cannot ignore. Power is not in the volume of your words, but in the weight of your presence. Inspired by Machiavelli.